Good evening, and thank you for joining us this evening. The 13th regular session of the Mayor and City Council. We will have the invocation given by Councilmember Louis Metzner and the pledge of the flag. If you would please stand and join us.
We meet to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibility to the past and the future and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings in our deliberations and our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Quick announcements. We will be following the rules of procedure adopted by this administration on December 20th. If you have a cell phone, please put it on mute. Any correspondence for distribution to elected officials should be provided to the city clerk and should include a copy for the city clerk for inclusion in the official record. Our next scheduled meeting dates in May are May 2nd, 9th, and the 16th are work sessions at 4 p.m. Also on the 16th is a tax rate and budget public hearing at 7 p.m. Tuesday, May 23rd is a regular session at 7 p.m. And so far at this point, there has been no meeting scheduled for Tuesday, May 30th. We have a guest with us tonight, needs some recognition. Could I please have Jasmine Walker-Key? So you are, there is an art competition every year, and you can hold this for everybody else. Anyway, there's an art competition every year that is held by the Washington County Arts Council. The kickoff for Blues Festival and the art exhibit at the Washington County Arts Council is on Thursday, June 1st from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And Jasmine is this year's Children's Art Competition winner. And Jasmine is a sixth grader at Western Heights Middle School, right? You got that right. I want to recognize her teacher, Miss Hetzel, is here. Would you please stand? Could you come up and join us? And also Mary Ann Burke from the Arts Council. And can I get Jasmine's parents? Oh, and last year's principal. Can you come up too? All right. So anyway, some miscellaneous facts. 53 students submitted artwork for the contest. There was one winner, one runner-up, and 16 honorable mentions. These will all be on display at the Washington County Arts Council. Participants from Boonesboro Middle School, E. Russell Hicks Middle School, Smithsburg Elementary, and Western Heights Middle all participated. The artwork will be on display June 1st to the 27th, and that's down at the Arts Council. And also on display down there will be the artwork that was chosen this year, Nathan Gorey's poster for Blues Fest, right? Cool. All right, well, I would like to offer Jasmine a city pen. Yeah, let's have Mary. Yeah. And that's for you. And can we get a picture, everybody? You think? Go over here underneath the seal? Sure. Sure. Aaron likes to have us under here underneath the seal all the time. Get somebody on this side. Yeah, you get to be in the front, and we can. And can you guys hold the artwork down there? Jasmine in the center. All right. Us all standing behind. There we go. Look at that.
It was a tough competition this year.
That's so cool.
Lots of entries, tough competition. Lauren first.
Smile.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2.
All right, up next are citizen comments. We're going to start off with, and Marvin, I'm pretty sure you signed up for citizen comments, right? Okay, all right.
My name is Marvin Boer. Live on Sunnyside Drive in Hagerstown. And I've been after this city to clean up the trash for a year now. And a year ago, you all passed the ordinance that seems to have gone nowhere. And sometimes I think this city's unofficial motto is can't. And I think it's time to change it to can do. So you've got to improvise a few things. Now, if the trash is too big of a problem to take care of for the city, why not break it down into small sections? You can start by downtown, do a 2x2 or 4x4 square block area and work on that, work all your problems out. Almost 2 years ago in June, they passed an ordinance about the signage, and that's gone nowhere also. And I think something could be done there by working with the artsy type people in this town to help these people just have better displays. There's still alley trash. It seems that nobody seems to care about or pick up. And I can give you some pictures from my phone. I just walked around area close to here, a quarter block from this building, and it's a shame. Now, you all want to save some money, or you want to raise the taxes. And I would suggest you work with your employees, because they would know better than you guys about how to save money, down the line. And you could do contests by little bonuses. You could either do it by department, or you could do it by single employees. You could offer employees $1,000 for a best idea if they could save some money, and then next one would be 500, next one would be like 250. Or you could do it for a whole department and give everybody a little bit of a bonus. And I'm sure you can save money, because I don't know any government agency that could not cut 5% of their budget without doing any harm. 10% you have to do some working. And that's it for this evening.
Thank you, Marvin. Jimmy Devine?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Name's James M. Devine, Post Office Box 2217, Hagerstown, Maryland. The paper I gave you last time on the water quality was from the Popular Science Accredited magazine. I spoke with the person who ran the county water treatment facilities. He told me that the chemicals, the medication that you take, can be removed with a high filtration system, but is not being removed from the drinking waters. These chemicals now affect the aquatic life in the rivers and streams in this area and your life. The current president and his administration reminds me of a horrible and terrifying X-file. An administration who tweets exhibit a mentally disturbed person, an administration wanting to extensive spending on items of war, not peace, a degradation of the EPA rules, the survival of this planet, a useless border wall, millions of dollars to be taken from the Affordable Care Act to provide tax breaks for the rich and corporations. I find it frightening that a psychopath and demagogue now rules this nation. An administration exposing white supremacy, exposing the fears where immigrants are the evil people. Immigrants are what this nation, great nation was made from. Immigrants who flee life and death situations for a better life here. Unless a person's heritage is from the Clevis people, the Native American Indians, who were here thousands of years ago, who were almost killed and destroyed by the European immigrants. Every one of us has a history of immigration in this nation. The attack on the present day immigrants are unprecedented and unjustified. I ask this city to declare itself a sanctuary city for these immigrants. Some children, now adults, who know no other life except in this nation, are now being deported to other nations they know nothing about. Please help them. But I also ask the city to start an immediate deportation of these white supremacists and those that call themselves Republicans. You should look at these people's family immigration history, conclude their immigration history illegal, and immediately deport these people back to where their ancestors immigrated from. It would make the city a safer place. These are the people that are voting for their own self-interest instead of the good for society as a whole. I find it frightening of the people who voted for this person, isolationists, people with guns who want to shoot Bambi 16 times with an AR-16 to satisfy their animal thirst to kill, not for food for survival. The people of faith and beliefs, over 1,000 different religions and faith, each teach there is something wrong with the other people who do not believe in their beliefs. I am troubled by some Muslim religion beliefs. I read today where a young person was killed for a false charge of blasphemy. Their religion teaches them to kill a person for saying something against their Muhammad or Allah. Muslims' mothers having babies who are taught to become killers, martyrs, and terrorists by their religion, that females are slaves, not equal, not to be seen, only to be used for babies. I hear a war on terrorism, but let's call it what it is. It's a war on religion. A section of the Muslim religion has no place in a civilized society. This war will go on with no end in sight. Not all interpretation of the Muslim religion is bad, but it is time for the good Muslims to come forward together and destroy those that are destroying their faith. Without this, there is no end. I hope this exile that I'm in soon ends. I'd also like to make a comment about the city. If you took a compass and drew a half-inch circle from this place around the city right now, what I see is like at the University of Maryland downtown, you look right across the street. There's empty buildings. The buildings have windows broke out. I seen a bird flying out the window. I thought, this must be great. You look catty corner across from the library downtown. The building's empty. I think if these buildings were occupied either by businesses or residents, it would help improve the city. It would help improve the downtown culture of the city. And there should be something done about these vacant buildings. Mr. Mayor, I asked you about eminent domain when you were running. You said you didn't approve of it, but I think you should approve of eminent domain. The city should take these buildings away from these landlords that aren't doing anything with them and put them to productive use. It would help the downtown. It would help the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Justin Wilson? If it's not Wilson, I apologize.
Yeah, it's Wilson.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Justin Wilson. I live on Summit Avenue. I come before you to speak of the safety of the children in this community. I saw a child last week that started to move between vehicles parked in a fire zone and almost walked into the traffic going by. These people have parking spaces 15 to 20 feet away, but are too inconsiderate and lazy to park where they should park. I would like this legislative body to pass rules, ordinances, or provisions that would allow the city police or city fire departments to issue tickets to these people. They deserve a ticket. They're inconsiderate and lazy people. With school letting out soon, there will be more children put in this danger by these inconsiderate, lazy people. Is there something that can be done by you to correct this matter, or require or authorize the city fire departments to issue tickets to these people? This is also a fire hazard. For the protection of the children in this community, something should be done. What will you do to correct this situation?
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. The first thing is I'm going to hook you up with that guy back there with that badge on, chief of police. He actually issues, they actually issue citations for that. It is a violation of motor vehicle law.
I don't think it's enforced all that. I see it all the time.
I'm not saying that it can't be, whether it can be enforced better or not, but there actually is already a statute there, so.
Okay.
But anyway, he's paying attention, I can guarantee you. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Patrick Fred Hummer. Am I close?
Patrick Prudhomme, 136 North Mulberry. I haven't been here in a long time because I really don't know that you can get anything done. I find the city is so poor at getting the job done that I pretty much just said, you know what, I kind of give up. I'll just do my thing on the little piece of property that I own. I don't consider this my home, thank God, so I can sort of live within it. One of my reactions was that when my partner and I first bought the house, it was valued at $97,000. And I said, Brian, come on, this is, it isn't that much in taxes. Let's go ahead and pay it, and, while we're getting the house into shape. But in seeing how poorly run the code enforcement department is, I finally said, I've had it. And I called up the people that do the tax values, and I said, get over here. I'm paying more than I should be paying. They cut the value by $40,000, so I don't have to put that money into this town. And that's how angry I was. So I'm sitting there, I'm kind of minding my own business. Every morning I go out and I pick the garbage up off the street, and every night when I come home, from block to block, I pick the garbage up off my street. 8 months ago, we got kind of fed up because our next door neighbor at 139, 140, I think it is, he rents a commercial space across the street, and his family owns rental property, and we've been watching them dump stoves and commodes and dishwashers and pieces of plywood and the boxes from the new appliances. And I'm figuring the first time it happened, I'm like, well, okay, he'll clean that up. No, it sat and sat and sat. About 8 months ago, we're not allowed to talk to the code enforcement people because if you ask them to do their job and then you call back and say what's been done, and you call back again while they slug along on this process, it's like molasses river in the Antarctic. It is incredibly slow. They're insolent. They want you to go away, and eventually they'll slam the phone down on you. And when you call their boss, she doesn't bother to slam the phone down on you because she never bothers to return a telephone call. So I digress. We call and so 8 months ago, they say, we don't like you, we don't like your attitude, we don't like that you're pushing us to get this done. You're relegated to just giving us information on the internet. And I'm like, okay, well, I can do that. So 8 months ago, we say, listen, we've got this trash situation. I can see it from my front door. It was cleaned up once, and I thought, okay, maybe that's it. It was no fault of the city. But 2 weeks later, it started all over again and quickly mounted right up. So we hand in the request 8 months ago. By the way, at the same time, we handed in the fact that the garbage cans next door have been out there since, not this winter, but the winter before that. I know that because they were using the garbage cans to mark their parking spaces, and they've never gone back in. Nothing. We decided, okay, well, maybe it was lost. It's been 8 months. A month ago, we put it in again. We get one garbage can marked, and what happened was they finally moved that garbage can. 2 have replaced it. It's a free-for-all. But still I'm looking and saying, okay, it's a trashy slum city, and I shouldn't expect much because I've been told by the people who are walking away with a fistful of dollars that they're going to do absolutely nothing. So I'm like, all right, that's fine. My partner makes the mistake of picking up papers and some of the garbage from the totem pole of honor for the drug addict that was shot to death 3 months ago. This thing's been up for 3 months. Does the city come and clean it up? No, it sits there right up the telephone pole and spreading like a fungus. So he picks it up, comes home. We wind up having a mob on our front steps because of this with death threats. And now I'm looking and saying, I'm living in a city where the head of code enforcement is walking with, what, $100,000 to $120,000 a year, who, by the way, doesn't live in this mess. She lives outside. And I'm getting death threats because she can't get her job done in our neighborhood? It's unbelievable. And I'm looking at all of you up there too, and I'm like, it's your job to make sure that she's directing the people below her. What are we wasting on this, on this code enforcement? I pulled it up on the internet. There's as many as 19 people listed on it. Her alone, how long has she been here? 100 to 120,000 a year? Has she been here 5 years? Is that $500,000 to $600,000 we've invested in this absolutely do-nothing person? I want somebody with a fire in their belly. She doesn't seem to be the least bit interested in this community, and none of you seem to call her on it. Maybe you don't live in the old town areas where I live. Maybe you think, gee, those are just the trashy areas. I happen to think they're very interesting. They are the heart of how this country started. I'm so furious that we had to go through all of that. And she and her and the zoning department walk away doing absolutely nothing, again and again and again. We are 95% out of code compliance in our neighborhood. A blind person could walk through and just walk to something and touch it, and they could find something that had to be done. And yet nothing happens in our neighborhood. Oh, now we're starting weed season. 2 years ago, I was in here because I found out from one of her people that works for her that slipped and said, we don't do any weed enforcement for the 3 hottest months out of the year. They actually got in gear 495 violations they handed out. They had 95% compliance. I begged to know what happened with the 5% that didn't comply, and that's when I got the phone slammed down on me and told, you don't call here anymore. And I waited 4 or 5 months to get that information until I finally caught Paul Fogg by accident at his desk. So what did they do the next year after 95% code compliance? People are dying to be told, give us something to do and we'll do it. Absolutely nothing. 3-foot-high weeds in front of the windows. Where is she? What is she doing? I cannot fathom what it is. I can't figure it out. And I don't know, do any of you know what code enforcement's doing? Because they're not getting the job done in our neighborhood. And literally, my partner and I are having death threats hurled at us because we're doing the job that you guys are not making sure is getting done in the neighborhood. By the way, tonight, the neighbor hauled in a refrigerator on his truck. I'm going to get to enjoy that for probably months now. I don't know what to say to you guys. It's a free-for-all. It's a huge waste of money. I'm absolutely disgusted. And I think that's it. That's all I have to say to you.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody else who didn't sign up to give citizen comments but who wishes to give citizen comments, please step up to the podium, give us your name and address.
My name's Brian Ginty. I live at 136 North Mulberry. And I've been to a couple of these meetings, and people stand up and they tell you what their problems are and what they like to see have happen, and I never see any follow-up. So my first question to you is the first gentleman that spoke to you. I would assume that he would deserve some follow-up, right?
What, you mean during this portion of the meeting?
Yeah.
No, we don't do that.
You don't do which?
Not during this portion of the meeting.
Okay. When do you do follow-up on what people?
We have followed up with Mr. Lohr, yes.
Pardon me?
We have followed up with Mr. Lohr.
The fellow who just spoke
Yes,
first
yes,
today?
yes.
Okay. And are you going to follow up on the other people?
I don't know how much I'm going to follow up on Jimmy. But Mr. Wilson, I believe, and the chief are going to get together. And you guys met with me. And
Oh, I appreciate that.
I appreciate your meeting with us, but I can tell you right now, not a zip will happen. She might get her act together and get the 2 things that we've been trying to get done for 8 months, but that's part of the scale.
Well, one of the issues you came to me with were addressed immediately that day, and now a policy has been put in place when it comes to memorials, okay? So at least we have some kind of guideline to go by, where we never had one before, except the ordinance that said nothing could be attached to our utility poles. So, not to be totally unfeeling toward people and their feelings, we felt it best to give at least a time frame where something could be put there in memoriam and then taken down after that time frame. As far as your other code problems with the business across, or the place across the street in particular, we will get to that one too, but there are many more than just that one. That's all I can tell you.
I don't know what's getting done though, Mayor.
Well, it's only been 3 weeks that you met with me.
It's been 8 months since we told.
Well, but I wasn't here 8 months ago. I've
No.
only been here since November, so, but you met with me 3 weeks ago.
No, I want to thank you. You not only took care of it, you took care of it about 2 hours after we had a meeting. But I don't see how I can go to you with every little thing. I appreciate that you're getting the job done, but there are
I
a lot of
certainly
people
hope
that
that you
are
don't
not.
have to come to me with every little thing.
Pardon me?
I'm hoping that we're doing the right things.
Okay, thank you.
You're not making $120,000 to get the job done, and she's not getting the job done, you should fire her. Get somebody in there who can do the job, or dismantle.
Anyone else want to give citizen comments before I close the citizen comments section and move on to the public hearing? All right, Alex, you're up.
Get this to turn on. Ah, there we go. Good evening. This is public hearing for proposed rezoning at 613 West Washington Street, case number ZM 2017-01. Just give an overview on the property itself. It's located on the south side of West Washington Street between Elizabeth Street and Madison Avenue. And the the total size of the property in question is 0.21 acres or 9,000 square feet. It is adjacent to a residential neighborhood consisting of mostly 1 and 2 family dwelling units. Adjacent building to the east is 607 West Washington Street and is a multi-story commercial building owned by the applicant who's seeking the rezoning for 613. That property is zoned commercial local. Both 607, the 3-story building, and the property in question tonight have been under common ownership since the mid-20th century, not by the same owner, but also previous owners have collectively held both properties. Historically, the property at 613 has contained a residential dwelling that fronted on West Washington Street, as well as an existing block building garage at the rear of the property. Block building was built sometime prior to zoning, which would have been October of 1956. We believe sometime in the 40s or earlier. House is probably from the early 20th century, but that house was demolished, according to our records, in 1962, which basically left the block building as the only structure basically it is the only structure left on the property. And that particular property at 613 was zoned R2, or medium density residential, in 1977. It is believed that the building was used commercially since at least 1977 off and on, but neither staff nor the applicant have been able to basically establish a continuous track record of commercial uses to establish non-conforming status. The comprehensive plan from 2008 has identified this property as medium density residential. I will say that if it is rezoned to commercial local, staff would propose to designate the property as commercial as part of Vision Hagerstown 2035, since we're right in the middle of that process. And again, I mentioned earlier, the property to the east, 613, which is 607, also owned by the applicant, is zoned commercial local, so there's no single zoning issues with this, or spot zoning issues, rather. Just some other considerations. West Washington Street is, just for your information, is classified as an arterial, carries about 7,100 vehicles per day, and is anticipated that the proposed rezoning to CL and then its permitted uses that would be permitted, that would go along with CL, would have minimal traffic impact to West Washington Street. So the proposal itself, the applicant, which is Old Town Development LLC, Mr. Jake Bear, who is here this evening, has requested a rezoning from medium-density residential to CL commercial local. If rezoned, the applicant proposes to use the property for an automotive sales business. That's what initiated this rezoning request, in conjunction with the neighboring commercial property at 607 West Washington Street, also owned by him. Automobile sales per the Land Management Code are permitted use if they're entirely contained within the building, which, as we've learned through so talking to the applicant as well as the Planning Commission's public review meeting, that would be the intent. And parking on site, which is on the 613 side, could be only used for employees and customers of the sales facility and any residents in 607 and 613 West Washington Street. And again, I just want to emphasize that this is just the proposal that the applicant has initiated the rezoning with. This is a normal piecemeal rezoning, so if this particular use didn't work out for some reason, the applicant would be free to use the zoning, if he were to be rezoned to CL, to any uses that are permitted under CL, which are basically small-scale retail, restaurant, offices, 1 and 2 family residential, and then also just to mention that a bona fide automotive repair maintenance use would be a special exception in the Board of Zoning Appeals. What the applicant is proposing is any automotive repair would be ancillary to the sales business that he's proposing for the site, so it would be permitted along with that. The justification for the rezoning under state law, a piecemeal rezoning has to make one of 2 arguments, either a change in the character of the neighborhood or a mistake in the existing zoning classification. The applicant has requested the rezoning based on the mistake in the existing zoning classification because the commonly owned 607, 609 West Washington Street, which is zoned CL, and 613 should have been zoned commercial local together because they have been historically used together, and that the city did not take that into account during its last comprehensive rezoning in 2010. The Planning Commission had their public review meeting the last Wednesday of March, and they deliberated at their April 5th workshop and determined in its deliberations that there was a mistake in the existing RMED zoning based on the following. Number 1, that the city did not take into account that the 607 West Washington Street and 613 have been and were under common ownership and were historically used together for common use. And again, that the city did not, the city did not consider that during the comprehensive rezoning in 2010. So for those reasons, the Planning Commission had recommended the rezoning of this property from RMED to CL. Just to provide a little background on the timeline, having our public hearing tonight, and the yellow lettering is my indication to enter into the record the certificate of advertisement and the Planning Commission filed by reference. We're also asking this body to introduce the rezoning tonight. It basically would speed up the process by a month, but also allowing for adequate public review in the process as well. And I think we're scheduled for a follow-up with you on May 9th in your work session. And then we would have this scheduled on for a vote. If you decide to introduce it tonight, we would have this on for a vote for approval denial on May 23rd. And if it's approved, as with any rezoning, it would take effect 30 days later. And just have a couple of slides. It's just a zoning map of the site. And I have the turquoise arrow indicates where the building is in relation to the property. And then these are some pictures that were provided by Mr. Bear. The top left-hand corner was what the building had looked like before, and then I think the bottom one is a current picture of the site. Just kind of a before and after, if you will. And kind of the same thing from a different angle, looking basically from the roof of 607 West Washington Street of the property in question. And then this is the other property that the applicant owns. This is 607, it's the multi-story building that was mentioned earlier. That this building and the one to the right have been commonly owned by the applicant and his predecessors. And this is just what the property looks like from the street. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Alex? Okay. Any further comments from the applicant? You don't need to, Mr. Bear, if you don't want to. I think Alex pretty much covered it.
You did. If I may say that I want to give,
Yeah, you gotta come up.
I just want to give a positive comment here. The staff, phenomenal to work with. They were fantastic. So you guys need to know that. They did a great job. The Zoning and Planning Commission did a great job. So if you have any questions for me on this, that's fine. If not, it was
Any
well.
questions for Mr. Bear?
No.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Any testimony either for or against? All right, Alex, you closing out? All right, we'll keep the record open for 10 days.
Thank you.
City Administrator's comments, please.
Nothing this evening.
Mr. Munson.
No comments, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Metzner.
Just one thing, Mr. Mayor, anybody who is going to see Seussical the musical knows what I'm saying when I say that great reason to have faith in our youth of today and of our educators. And I would certainly recommend anybody who doesn't have tickets to get them. Thank you.
Ms. Keller.
Yeah, I have a couple. I just wanted to say I got to attend the Unity March. That was a few weeks ago. I presented a certificate on behalf of the city of Hagerstown, and it wasn't a protest or anything like that. It was just a march of people of different races and religions that all live in Hagerstown coming together to show unity, and I'm pretty proud to represent a city who did something so cool. So thank you to the people that organized that. Next Sunday, the 29th, there's a climate march beginning in Center City and going to the park, and they're going to have some guest speakers. It was recently covered in the Herald Mail, so just a update that that is happening here. And last Monday, I got to attend an opioid intervention team, the first meeting in Western Maryland. It's a group that was appointed by Governor Hogan and is being led by Charlie Summers, who is the Director of Emergency Services, I believe is his title. And it's an organization that's different leaders around the community in Western Maryland coming together to figure out how to solve this opioid problem and how to get some of the money that is being appointed by Governor Hogan. So I was very proud to be there, and I'm very happy to see that initiative happening so we can start helping and healing the people who are addicted. And lastly, thank you to everyone that sent me texts and for the shout outs while I missed a meeting earlier this month. My daughter had her tonsils removed. She appreciates everyone's support, so did I, and she is back to eating steak and crab legs. So all is well in the world. And hopefully no more strep throat. So thank you.
Mr. Gordon.
Not much, just real quick. I wanted to, earlier this evening, we had the pleasure of the Washington County Commissioners joining us for a joint meeting. Wanted to thank them for coming out. It was good to have those discussions that we had, and look forward to future discussions as we move forward through some collaborative efforts here. In regards to some of the comments that were made here earlier this evening, Mr. Lohr, we hear what you're saying by all means. As far as looking at an individual area of town where you actually are doing that, I know Rodney's going to come back to us here in a week or two with some things from Waste Management, as that bid is out right now, specifically. Okay, appreciate that. And in regards to some of the questions about reducing expenditures, we're knee deep into that right now. So our staff came back with some suggestions today, and it's an ongoing process, the budget process. So, I think I can say that is just stay tuned. So, okay.
That it?
That's it.
Mr. Elsher.
Sure. The way that I appreciate this process working at
these meetings is that I allow the individuals that would like to speak their opportunity to speak. I attempt not to engage or interrupt. It's public comment. That's what their time is for. We get our time as members of the body to make comment, respond if we are inclined. And I understand the frustrations expressed by Mr. Prudhomme and Mr. Keeney. We had that discussion last week. I will tell you this, though. This is the third time, Mr. Prudhomme, you've come to speak before this body. And all three of those occasions, I have found your remarks to be disparaging to this city and its staff. I am not an individual to be engaged in that type of what I consider uncivil discourse. If you are seeking that, there are 5 other members here that do not include me that you can have those conversations with.
You have to speak up. I can't hear what you're addressing me. Please don't mumble. Say it right to my face.
I was clear.
All I heard was mumble. So I don't really hear what you said.
Oh, then we hear the same.
But I call it like I see it.
Anything else,
I
Mr.
think we
Overstreet?
should address the code administration.
Kristen?
No.
All right, I'm gonna, the question was asked about whether or not we are gonna give feedback. Again, we stay in touch with Mr. Lohr. We like his, we stay in touch with Mr. Lohr. We like his comments. We like the fact that he comes in and that he points out our shortcomings at times. But I will tell you that all the things that you have brought to this council, we're looking at. Unfortunately, there's a process for everything in government, and sometimes that process just seems to take forever. So I'm with you in the frustration over that. As for Mr. Devine's comments, well, I can only tell you, I wish Jimmy wouldn't have left because I don't agree with a lot of what he said, but I would just like to point out that there are plans in the works for the buildings across from University of Maryland. There are plans in the works for other vacant buildings in downtown. So we are moving in the right direction when it comes to that. Again, I know your frustration, Paul, and I understand it. I also know that we'll work diligently to address those issues. Again, there's a time frame, and we have to abide by certain time frames by law. So we'll get to them when we can, but we also don't like the fact that you were harassed and threatened and all those things that you were, and that happened the day of the incident. And we've addressed that particular issue. But there's a ton of issues in this city, and we're addressing them as we can. Unfortunately, a lot of our time is taken up with budget, because that's important too. So we have to get our budget in line so that we can put our services in line. And I will tell you that we work diligently all hours of the day and night on that. I know I do, and I know these council members do. So we'll get to the issues that we can on the timely basis that we can get to them. I'm sorry that you're frustrated. I share Kristen's view. I let you say, 5 minutes, people get to say what they want to. I would like it to be a little less demeaning. That might help some. But
I find it hard when your employees tell me, don't call us, we are not giving you any follow-up.
I understand.
I don't know what else to say. I'm frustrated.
I understand. Well, I would much rather have that conversation with you one-on-one, that I could maybe intervene as opposed to in this forum. So, but you're welcome to come speak anytime. Okay. Moving on.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move for the approval of minutes as presented for the mayor and council meetings held on March 7, March 15, March 21, March 28, all of 2017.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move that all of the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Approve an ordinance amendment to the City of Hagerstown Police and Fire Employees Retirement Plan.
Mr. Mayor, I have a move to approve an ordinance to amend the City of Hagerstown Police and Fire Employees Retirement Plan to provide for the designation of a human resource employee of the city to serve as the administrator of the plan and allow for the delegation of administrative responsibilities to another employee to serve as the coordinator. The amendment changes the role of the Retirement Committee for fiduciary protection. This amendment also changes the definition of the citizen representative for this committee from a city resident to a Washington County resident.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Approval of an annexation resolution.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move the mayor and council approve an annexation resolution for property located at 12839 and 12919 Salem Avenue. Property to be annexed is approximately 5.75 acres in size and intended to be added to and made part of the adjacent municipal lands.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Introduction of an ordinance for zoning Old Town Development LLC.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move the mayor and city council introduce an ordinance for zoning reclassification and zoning map amendment from residential medium density to commercial local for property located at 613 West Washington Street, attached to the draft findings of fact and statement of reasons for this rezoning.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Approval of resolution authorizing an agreement with the Bethel Corporation, Bethel Gardens Development Partners LP, and the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, Maryland.
Mr. Mayor, I hereby move for mayor and council approval of a resolution authorizing the city to enter into a payment in lieu of tax agreement with the Bethel Corporation, Bethel Gardens Development Partners LP, and the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 3-2. Approval of resolution, City of Hagerstown Public Facilities Bond Series 2017A and 2017B.
Mr. Mayor, I have a move for the approval of resolution authorizing the City of Hagerstown to issue and sell by solicitation of competitive bids at public sale 2 separate series of general obligation bonds. One such series will be issued on a tax-exempt basis in the aggregate principal amount of $5.7 million in order to finance 15 specific projects identified in the resolution, and the other such series will be issued on taxable basis in the aggregate principal amount of $1.62 million in order to finance 3 specific projects identified in the resolution. The aggregate principal amount of each series of the bonds is subject to reduction as provided in the resolution. As required by enabling city ordinance 0-17-02, which was passed by the council and approved by the mayor on March 7, 2017. The resolution enumerates details regarding the bonds and their sale and authorizes the Director of Finance or, in her absence or disability, the city administrator on behalf of the city to make modifications to bond details and to provide for communication of such adjustments prior to the sale and award the separate series of the bonds or reject bids for one or both series on the sale date. The resolution provides that the full faith and credit and unlimited taxing power of the City of Hagerstown shall be pledged to the payment of the principal of and interest of the bonds. Although it is expected that allocable portions of debt service on the bonds will be paid in the first instance from the Water Fund, the Wastewater Fund, and the Property Management Fund, appropriate city officials are hereby authorized to take the actions necessary to proceed with the bond sale and to close the issuance and delivery of the bonds.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 5-0. Approval of memorandum of understanding between the City of Hagerstown and Washington County Mental Health Authority.
Mr. Mayor, hereby move for mayor and council approval of memorandum of understanding for the purpose of reimbursing Hagerstown Police Department for overtime costs to allow officers to attend approved crisis intervention training.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And with that, thank you for your time tonight, and we are adjourned.